That's right.
I'm I'm
Proof.
I'm thankful nobody was taking selfies about our topic today. It's Survivor Series 2002. But boy, before we get to the show, we left off at No Mercy, and we are knee deep in Katie Vick.
Yeah. Ain't that great?
Here's what the Observer had to say. In a blatant attempt to create controversy and further enhance the character of Raw's chief antagonist, Triple H, last night's Monday Night Raw on TNN, which, by the way, was rated TV 14, presented an alleged act of necrophilia. Triple H, poorly disguised as his chief adversary, Kane, presented a skit in a funeral home using a mannequin that simulated the body of Kane's former girlfriend, Katie Vick. WWE executive producer Kevin Dunn stated that numerous warnings to WWE viewers about sensitive subject matter did air prior to the segment. Quote, while the subject matter is sensitive, on balance, this was an attempt at dark humor capitalizing on the popularity of programs such as CSI, 6 Feet Under, and X-Files. My
Stop.
goodness.
Just stop.
My goodness.
Yeah. That's what I say. Hey, set your fat ass out there at the ringside and try and commentate. You know, I've always prided myself on being able. My old saying is, the guys kidding me about it. You put the son of a bitch on the monitor, I can call it.
Yes.
Well, this is very challenging.
Well, yeah, you think?
So what you know what you do, Connie? You lay out.
I was fixing to say, it's like our parents taught us when we were kids. If you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything at all.
Yeah, that's right. So it was. I never understood the logic behind it. It failed miserably. It was in poor taste. I don't want to put programming on television where a dad who's getting a pass to watch wrestling on Monday night has to explain to his kid what necrophilia, whatever you say,
Yeah.
are the sex components of this alleged storyline. That's not what you want to explain to a child, or you want to make them a fan. And if you want heat on Triple H, then shoot an angle with a baby face, not a mannequin. So I don't know. I never saw any value in it. I think it was embarrassing to wrestling, and that's a big statement. When you can say blank is an embarrassment to pro wrestling. So, and I believe that to be true then. I believe it to be true now.
Meltzer would say that, well, he just recaps it. Triple H goes to the funeral parlor, which, by the way, actually happened in Nashville. There was a real funeral going on the other side of that wall. Open a supposed casket, take off the bra and panties of a supposed dead woman, take off his own clothes while wearing a Kane mask, and then hop in the casket. He then portrayed himself having sex with the dead woman, leading to the punchline, "Oh my God, I really did it." And as mush came out of the head, he said, "I really screwed her brains out."
Well, that's so funny.
Live in Nashville, before one of the smaller Raw crowds in years, fans booed the segments with loud chants of refund during the commercial break. For a company that claims to listen to its audience for direction, it sounded like a message. Then again, the constant chants of what, as Kane was supposedly pouring his heart out, and the lack of heat for their pay-per-view match after all this time, was devoted in a unique way of not getting it over. Listen, there's just no good in this, and Meltzer tries to say that this is the new way of garnering controversy, the new fashioned way. And quote, Jim Ross was talking about how they'd hear so much about it, and Jerry Lawler was picking fights with the internet nerds. So it feels as if this is Vince McMahon just throwing his middle finger up at the critics, the parent-teacher councils, the Phil Mushnicks, the online know-it-alls, whatever the case may be. But at no point does anybody raise their hand loud enough to make this segment get scrapped. I mean, JR, Bruce has said for years, he tried to talk him out of this, and they did it so over the top, they thought, well, there's no way Vince will air this. But they did. And I'm curious from your perspective, you often say here on the show, I don't want to know what's going to happen. And as you said a moment ago, put that sumbitch on the monitor, I'll call it. Did you have any idea they were doing a segment like this, or are you as shocked as the rest of us?
I was shocked, and I knew the subject matter was going to be very, very delicate, to say the very least. But I didn't know all the specifics and all the machinations of how they're going to produce that segment. It was just horrible, just horrible. And I felt so bad for the audience. And, you can almost theoretically hear TVs clicking,
Yes.
channels changing. Again, if you've got to sit and explain a political, a religious, or a sexual angle to your audience, you're on the wrong road. And they covet these kids for all the right reasons, primarily to create more cash. And it's an amazing. I get at a loss for words just thinking about. Again, I'm just trying to figure out why we did it.
Right.
Did you really believe it was going to work?
Yeah.
I wonder whose idea that was in the writing room.
It had to be Vince, right?
I don't know. Sometimes somebody would have a germ of an idea and he would then embellish it and make it his own. That could have been a case in this matter. I've never heard a writer. Brucey might remember it better than me because I had another job I was trying to get done.
Yeah.
But I don't know why we did it. And I don't know why I've never heard any person in my life talk positively about this storyline. There's no redeeming qualities to this piece of shit. Excuse my language.
No, all right, well said. Meltzer would say, Ross kept trying to utter the parody of the Tom Hanks line from A League of Their Own, saying, "There's no necrophilia in wrestling. There's no semen in wrestling." You could see it was a game of how many times they could say those words to shock the audience, but the words meant nothing. The company, with as much talent as any company in history, has now become a sad parody of itself. Lawler has gone from hip and entertaining to aging and creepy, and it's impossible for the serious angles, if there are any, to have any impact because he sells the most potentially offensive skits as comedy. Ross is in a dead position. He's an announcer known for calling great matches, having no great matches to call. He's caught between trying to maintain the drama that sells great confrontations and being placed in a comedy vein that makes him foolish to try. He's making a great point here. If you're really the voice of wrestling and known to call all these great matches, but that's not really what we're doing anymore, you're kind of in a can't win position here, right?
Yeah, well, it's not. Yeah, of course, I was. And like I said, if I had to do all over again, I'd lay out more.
Yeah.
And all those little buzzwords that, the stimulators, it's just, you can look at it any way you want. You can look at it from, well, we're trying to broaden our audience. We're trying to be sensationalistic. We're trying to be more like mainstream television, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, you write television to entertain your audience.
Yep.
This did not entertain the audience, and the audience that was there said amen to that. We don't like this. It's horrible. It's embarrassing. And I can imagine some diehard wrestling fan sitting at home. His buddies come over. They have a couple of beers to watch wrestling, and this is on. And the guy he's a returning viewer. And then he's going to say, or she's going to say, so this is where we are now in this crazy world of pro wrestling? Well, it isn't. It is tonight. And I wonder how the quarter hours did with that piece of shit. I'd like to know how I'm curious. I don't need you to, you don't know. It's a lot of obscure information. But it'd be interesting to know how the quarter hours did for that piece of business.